Okay.
It's counting. Hey, Melissa.
Hey.
How was your vacation?
It was nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick little trip to the beach.
Yeah.
It was cold. It usually is this time of year.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. There's always some crazy people swimming
Oh, yeah.
in the cold.
And they were. Yeah, I couldn't handle it though.
No. Yeah, my kids, like, even in the pool, when a pool first opens, they just run and jump in there. And I'm sitting here, like standing for a second.
Cold plunge.
That's why people pay for that stuff. Yeah.
All you got to do is just jump in the ocean.
That's right. Exactly. Well, today, this will be a fun one, Melissa, because we are actually going to touch on maybe the 5 most common questions that we hear. And I think the reason we're touching on this is because we hear it all the time, which means people are probably all asking the same questions. And what we want to do is kind of open up our approach when we hear these questions and maybe some of the thoughts of how to fix these questions.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We hear a lot of the same things kind of on repeat in clinic and, elsewhere. But I think if we just kind of address those, hopefully give people a little more understanding.
Yeah. So today we'll start off with questions like, I don't have time. And we can probably group it together with, I'll start something when XYZ happens, right? So that's a really common maybe statement that we hear. And we'll say why that might not be the best idea and maybe how to fix that mindset. Another one is how to approach fatigue and tired, right? So a lot of people come in, I'm tired, and how we address that problem. And then maybe some ways for patients to try things at home to see if that's what's related. A big one, a statement, I can't remember to take my medications. That I feel like is nonstop.
Yeah. We hear it all the time, and I'm just not sure. You remember to do other important things in your day, and that should be on the top of your list.
Exactly. So maybe some tips on how to help yourself remember to take your medications. I don't eat anything. That one is, I would say, Melissa, for every wellness that we do, for every 10 wellnesses that we do, 7 people will have that. Well, I don't eat anything. I don't know why. Either my numbers aren't getting better or my weight's not coming down or I don't,
Yeah, we hear it all the time.
Yeah. And we'll shed some light on that question. And then people coming in with, I guess that's the 5th one, I need more tests. Whether it's more blood work, whether it's more scans, whether it's genetic, whatever it is. There is this big maybe push that, hey, I saw this on TV, I saw this on the internet, I want to check this out. And maybe our approach and maybe the pros and cons of testing more or less.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I want to push a button.
It's a little theme music.
That's right, Melissa. It helps us transition.
I like it.
Yeah, I was pushing buttons in here. I was like, I wonder what they do, and I was like, oh, that's fun.
Okay.
All right, well, Melissa, let's start with this first one. So a lot of patients come in. I just don't have time, right? They're mom or dad, they're working, they're busy, and we see metabolically, maybe during their wellness, your blood pressure is a little borderline, cholesterol's not great, weight's creeping up, so. Us, the coaches, we make some recommendations, and usually the first thing people say is, I would love to, but I don't have time. So what do we do with that?
Well, I think it just has to be a priority. Anything that's a priority in your life, you find time for. And so maybe it's sacrificing something else that, maybe it's the extra Netflix time or different things like that. Maybe it's sacrificing a little bit somewhere else so that you can make time if this is something that's important to you.
Yeah. And I think, first of all, what people need to realize is we're not asking you to okay, I don't do anything to become a triathlete.
Right.
Right. Or I eat your typical American diet and I want you to become vegan. Now, we're not talking about these
small changes.
Yeah. So even yesterday I had a patient who was like, I have no time to exercise. I have nothing, and of course his joints are stiff. He has no energy. He doesn't feel good. And so even something as small as you know what, when you're watching your Netflix just for this week, how about let's just do 5 push-ups? Right? You're sitting there, you got it on your tablet or your TV, the living room, the kids are asleep. What does 5 push-ups take? 15 seconds. Let's just do something. And even then he was like, oh, I don't know if I have the motivation to do that. Or 5, whatever it is. I think, like you said, the expectation is Rome wasn't built in a day. So sometimes people will have the idea that, well, I don't have time to go to the gym for 3 hours. Me neither.
Yeah.
But if we can do something small, we'll see definitely the benefit of that.
Right. Yeah. And it doesn't have to, right. Like you said, you don't have to start some crazy training plan, run a marathon, anything like that. Just making small changes in each day, whether that's incorporating a 10-minute walk or, some squats in front of the television or maybe a few extra minutes to pack a lunch instead of eating out. Whatever it is, it can usually be fit in a small amount of time. And it's just kind of arranging that. And sometimes people think, well, it takes forever to meal prep or to pack a lunch. And really, if you timed yourself, you could probably pack your lunch in, under a few minutes, But it's just making sure that, you have you make the time to do that.
Yeah. It just has to be a priority. And I think most people, once they see how they feel after they start becoming active or after they stop, eating Snickers bars, I think how you feel will naturally fuel you to do more. But exactly right. Being realistic about what you're doing, being very small, but being intentional. And I like how you said it doesn't take to fold a basket of laundry, which I will admit, I am so bad. Like we have baskets upon baskets, but it really only takes if you focus and don't look at your phone every 3 seconds, it only takes 5 to 10 minutes to do a basket.
Oh yeah. There's lots of tasks that we do throughout the day that really don't take as much time as we think. And so we put them off when if we just do it, it can be done really quickly. And that's the same with things like, the meal prepping, the exercise, really 10 minutes counts. If you can do nothing else that day, 10 minutes, walk around the block or in front of your TV, whatever, it still counts.
Right.
So squeeze it in where you can.
Yeah. And, when I was preparing for this, this episode, even just looking at the cost of inactivity. So people who there's so many diseases that are preventable. Completely preventable by just being active. And the fact that we are not active, it's going to cost us $27 billion a year.
Wow.
Which is just insane. We could use that money for something else. And like I said, even if it's just 10 minutes being outside, the days are getting longer, no more daylight savings time, hopefully forever. That will make the mental health better, your sleep better, it will make you feel better. It's a win-win. We just have to mentally be okay, I want to do this and I'm willing to do something small and then also have an intention to slowly grow that habit.
Right. Yeah. And just start where you're at. You don't have to wait until Monday. That kind of is another one that feeds into this. A lot of times we hear, well, I'll start after things slow down at work or I'll start after the holidays. I'll start on Monday. It doesn't have to be anything plain out. Start today. Start with your next meal. Start with a walk after work, anything.
Yeah, exactly. And even with this, having a friend do it with you, your husband or spouse or wife, your spouse do it with you, accountability, just start somewhere together with somebody. I think that will really help out because otherwise it's we'll just keep kicking the can down the road while we spend 2 hours on Netflix.
Yeah. And if you don't have somebody in the household that wants to do it with you, that's okay too. There's lots of ways to find accountability, even if it's with your provider or health coach or a friend, or just do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You are your own person. If you start demonstrating healthy habits, your kids may follow, different things like that. So do it for yourself. And maybe others in the household will follow.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, when you're doing it for yourself and you're just improving your outlook, it makes you a better, I mean, as I said, I'll say that as a parent, when I'm taking care of my health, I'm a better dad.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, the patience is better, and just playing with them, you have more energy to play with. So it does taking care of yourself. I guess we've seen enough of those airplane, put your mask on first and then put the mask on your kid. That same idea, if we take care of ourselves, our health, it will flow out into other aspects of your life.
Right. And so it's worth that investment of time, finding the time, making it a priority.
Perfect. All right, Melissa, moving on. Number 2, I'm tired.
tired. Everybody's tired.
Me too. I'm so tired. Yes. It's a common, theme. Like patients coming in, they come in tired, and this might tie up with more ordering tests, but they're fatigued, they're sure it's their thyroid, it's their hormones, it's something else going on. But most of the time, even in data, that's usually not the case. Even, looking at our workup for fatigue, most of the time that workup rarely finds a quote unquote cause, by lab or something like that. So our approach to fatigue, we usually ask some of the most basic questions. Yes. Right, Melissa?
Yeah, like, are you sleeping? How's your sleep? How many hours do you get? What's your normal routine? And a lot of times it's, I'm lucky to get 4 hours a night. I've got to get up early for work. I'm up late doing stuff after the kids go to bed, or that's the only time to myself. So I watch some Netflix, and then before I know it, it's midnight and have to get up at 5 a.m. and the baby wakes up at 2, all this. So of course you're tired, but a lot of people think, well, that can't be it.
Correct.
It has to be something else. But, even in studies that look at people that maybe get, 5 to 6 hours of sleep versus the 7 to 8, after 2 weeks of that, their ability to concentrate during the day, their ability to focus, their ability to, perform daily tasks at their highest level declines rapidly.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't take long. And so a lot of times it's just looking at your sleep first.
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right. I mean, and it sounds so basic, right? If you're tired, the first thing is how you're sleeping. But you're right. The amount of times I've heard patients come in where say it can't be my sleep, even though, right, the kids are getting into their bed, so they're getting kicked. They don't sleep well, right? Or even maybe they get the hours, but they watch a zombie movie before they go to bed and they wake up exhausted. The brain, the emotions, there is this thing called sleep hygiene. That's essentially, it's been studied over and over. And the whole idea is a sleep routine to help your brain and your body calm down. Yes. Right, to get ready for bed. Things like cutting out the caffeine, right? If you drink coffee and you can still sleep, which is fine, the restful sleep is not there. Right? The brain activity is still going. If you watch a lot of stimulating shows and then try to go right to bed afterwards, that's not going to happen, right? Laying in bed, watching your phone, there's no way you're going to sleep well. And like you said, a lot of people, it's their revenge time. It's the time for them to take care of themselves. So they go to sleep at midnight to get up to go to work at 6. And yeah, you can do that for a couple of days, but you do it for a year or two, there's no way you're going to have any energy.
Right. And alcohol, when you were kind of listing things, a lot of people forget about alcohol and they forget to mention it too, but they may be taking, even just a drink before bedtime to kind of wind down. It may relax you in the moment and make you feel like you're sleepy and ready for bed, and maybe you do go right to sleep. But it's not going to allow you to get that good, restful, deep sleep. So you're going to wake up the next morning still feeling tired. And it's kind of a vicious cycle.
Yeah, in addition to the lack of sleep, stress is a big play on fatigue, right? So obviously, yes, stress can affect your sleep, but stress also affects all sorts of other hormones. And I have a lot of patients that come in and say, I don't want to take a medication. I want to go to the root cause. Well, the root cause is you're not sleeping and your stress is too high, and so, meditation, mindfulness, these practices, deep breathing practices, they even have apps that help you do these practices that will help calm the stress, help the sleep, that will give you a lot of the energy back.
Yeah. And even back to that exercise at the beginning of the day and really anytime during the day, but particularly if you can exercise in the morning, it can further help your sleep at night. You don't want to exercise too close to bed because then you're you're all energized and ready to go. So yeah, kind of exercising earlier in the day, getting some daylight earlier in the day, go outside and actually get some daylight, even on a cloudy day. You'll sleep better at night too.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a whole circadian rhythm in the brain and this need to see light to figure out what to do and also to see darkness, right? So, not blue light from your phone, but actually see darkness to help your brain kind of calm down. And these are, It sounds so basic. Sounds so like common sense, but this is an area that maybe we think, well, I hadn't slept since I was since our first child, I'm my fourth child. So there's nothing I can do about it, except there's a lot of things you can do about it. And that most of the time, if you look at the studies, it's like 5% of the time you actually find a reversible cause with medication. The other 95% of the time is just let's get the regular lifestyle things better and like right activity. We can fix a lot of the energy and fatigue if we can just fix a lot of the other things.
Right.
Yeah. And we didn't even bring up food.
Right. Yeah. Food. Yes. And I think everybody's been through that too, where they're kind of eating a terrible diet and they feel tired all day. They feel, that crash after lunch where they don't want to do anything except lay down on the couch, which they can't because they have to kind of keep pushing through, hopefully. Right. But some people do, actually. I had one patient tell me, like, she lays down and she works from home, so she lays down and takes a nap in the middle of the afternoon every day.
Must be nice.
But then she can't fall asleep at night.
Right.
So, yeah, if you're napping during the day, you really shouldn't.
Right.
I guess there's some information on, like, a 15-minute power nap, which could be okay. But for most people, if you're taking a nap, you're probably going to mess up your sleep that night.
Absolutely. Yeah. And right. I mean, I hear about like Spanish countries, they take siestas, but they also eat dinner at like 9 p.m.
Right.
And stay up till like midnight and then they don't go to work till 9 a.m. So yeah, obviously lifestyle is very different, but exactly right. If you're sleeping an hour in the afternoon, it will disrupt your sleep in the evening.
Right.
So it is the point of the podcast, common sense medicine, right?
Yes.
So, all right, which I guess, Melissa, this brings us to the next point. So a lot of people, right, they're tired, they want labs. And they want a lot of labs, a lot of weird labs. Some, I can see, okay, your thyroid, okay, some hormones maybe. But a lot of it's just, well, I saw on Instagram, they have this problem. Or I'm in part of this Facebook group and they all want all these labs. But there is definitely not just like wasting money, because I don't want to, I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, right? If you want to buy a Ferrari, buy a Ferrari. But as your physician and as us healthcare providers, we do want to tell you there's more than just the risk of money. There's also the risk of overdiagnosis, which can lead to overtreatment, which can also have false positives. There's a bunch of things that can happen that isn't just like, well, I just want to spend money. What's the harm for another CT scan, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can find on tests that may or may not make any difference to your outcomes.
Right.
But it could lead to additional testing just to make sure it was, say, a false positive or things like that. And after all this additional testing, it turns out, well, everything's okay anyway. Your number's just going to be off, And so you've gone through all this additional testing, all this additional cost, and the outcome's essentially the same.
Yeah, exactly. I heard one time, if you CT scan somebody enough, they're going to lose an organ. Yeah. Right? Because, you're going to see a spot. And even just to make this relatable, like how many women have gone to a mammogram, right? Got the mammogram done. They saw a lump. They go in and biopsy the lump. They're like, oh, I don't know. Let's mammogram in 6 months. We'll ultrasound it and we'll do all these things. $5,000 later, it was normal, which everybody's like, whew, okay, thankfully it was normal. But then you look backwards, you're like, well, if we didn't even do that, we wouldn't have found that, And this actually has been something that, like, probably why patients are noticing, like, hey, why are they recommending mammograms every other year now? Or why are they recommending pap smears for women every 3 to 5 years now? It's because we've had enough population data where in patients for just routine screening, just routine labs, like you can run the problem where you're not going to make them live any longer. You're not going to make their quality of life any better, but you're going to do way more procedures on them and scare the fire out of them, or even cut out a gallbladder, just all because we found something that we think was something, except it wasn't anything. And that actually, I was looking at, again, the numbers, the cost of over-testing, over-treatment, it's actually 30%, up to 30% of everything we do in healthcare, cost-wise, is actually probably not useful or not needed. Because like you said, it didn't affect the patient's quality of life. If anything, it made it worse. It didn't affect their length of life. It didn't help anybody, except we just cut on people more. And that's actually a problem.
Yeah. I mean, that's, anything that leads to an invasive procedure is risky. And, healthcare cost, cost of, to the patient, quality of life, all of that can be affected by additional testing. And, that's not only invasive procedures, but even things like additional blood tests. If we are rechecking, say a number on a CBC that the patient's, particularly concerned about, even though, we see that it's a little bit out of range. Well, they want to go on to, say, a hematologist. We get them to the specialist. They've been worried about it for a month, thinking they have leukemia or something,
Correct.
but it's really just kind of a normal variant of their lab. And they went through all that extra step and worry for, something that ended up being okay, which is great to have that reassurance, I guess.
Right.
But sometimes, it's just a lot of additional workup for saying the same thing.
Yeah. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, right? If you don't know things are happening, because it's fine, it's normal. I always tell people, you can't make healthy people more healthy with more tests, because you're going to find things and you can only make them more unhealthy.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is something, so ever since I've been working in this clinic, more of a population health view. And again, this is different than saying, I found something, I have a symptom of something, we're chasing this symptom. But the very routine, like, I'm just tired, my sleep is horrible, it's got to be labs. Like that you can run into sometimes trouble. And we'll definitely see, thankfully more recommendations come out. But back in the day, you see a bump in the lung, this person's getting like 4 CT scans in 2 years, which is a lot of radiation too.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you can end up causing problems trying to find a problem. So I guess the moral of the story is, when you come to us and you talk about blood work, we're going to listen and we're going to pay attention and we're going to take all the information you give us, and then we're going to give you what we think is best for you. Right? And we're not saying no to be mean, and we're not going to not draw something to be mean, but we're going to say things like, we could do this, it can find this, but it's not going to change anything that we're doing right now. And that's, I guess, the best case scenario.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of times I'll tell people, if everything turns out normal, if we go ahead and talk it over, we'll go ahead and check these things. But if everything turns out normal, we really do have to address what else is causing this. And a lot of times it is like sleep, diet, exercise, all the things that we know we need to address. But if we can get a number on a lab test to be wrong, we can blame it on that,
That's
right. But really, it comes back to the lifestyle first.
Yeah. We've got, exactly. The lifestyle, if we're at Vegas and we're betting on lifestyle, we will make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Or the odds will be in our favor.
Right.
So, okay. Well, Melissa, let's move on to this question or statement of, I can't remember to take my medication. So I have a lot of patients that maybe not interested in lifestyle, and that's okay. Look, you know what, this, in your stage of life, maybe that, and that's okay. I mean, as physicians, we take care of people in all stages of, wherever they're at. But not only are they not willing to do lifestyle, they can't take their medication. So we got to do something, right? Blood pressure is through the roof. Cholesterol is horribly high. Diabetes is completely uncontrolled. And if you look at the data, it costs about $500 billion a year of preventable hospitalization and death if we would just take the medication.
Yeah.
Right. So that's more than what we spend on pharma. It's actually like, hey, can we just get the medicine? And we're not talking about expensive heart attack medication, just regular.
Yeah, regular meds. Right.
So that's,
it'll save you those complications in the long run. And that kind of goes back, I guess, a little bit to the priority thing. You remember to brush your teeth, you remember to, get your project done at work, whatever it is, find a way to remember your medication, make it a priority, set it next to something that you do every single day, brush your teeth, make your coffee, wherever you're going to see it and remember it. Put it there. Keep it in your bag. Take it to work, whatever.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, it's just all about a priority. And if it's like, hey, I don't know how to take this med because it's 3 times a day, talk to us. There might be an alternative that's once a day now, or maybe a new one that's come out that's once a day or twice a day, that we can use instead. Because, right, it's more than just like, okay, it's going to cost healthcare system a lot of money, which will raise everybody's premiums. But it's also like, hey, if we don't fix the blood pressure with as a $4 pill that we can do, we will be on dialysis, which will be 3 times a week, 3 hours at a time, and $26,000 a month. That's the role we're going if we don't just, I don't know, be responsible and take the medication.
Yeah. Take it. Yeah. Yeah. And I had a thought. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I will let you come back with that.
Come back to that one.
Yeah. No. I mean, I like what you said, like things that you can attach it to things that we do all the time. So, right, put it next to your toothbrush, set reminders on your phone so you'll remember to get it. Put it on a nightstand right next to your bed. Put it where you make your coffee, or something that you do every single day so that it becomes second nature. And right, obviously we're hoping that the lifestyle will follow, but if we are not really there, it's okay. Our focus is let's just become compliant on the medication. And if you're not, just tell us. Yeah, I had a guy, his cholesterol jumped. I was like, what happened? Because my nurse said you were taking your medicine. He's like, I am taking it just twice in 2 weeks. And I was like, okay.
Not enough.
Not enough. Yeah.
I remembered what it was.
Okay.
When you were talking about taking medicine multiple times a day, a lot of people will say take their blood pressure medicine in the morning and their cholesterol medicine at night.
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh, well, I forget the nighttime dose because, their routine is different or whatever. Well, if it's a case of not taking it at all versus taking it maybe in the morning with your blood pressure medicine, talk to your doctor, see if that's an option for you. But a lot of times it is, better than not taking it at all.
Correct. Oh, and then one more thing. If you're coming here for fasting labs for a checkup, you can still take your medication.
Yes. Yeah. We don't want your blood pressure to be through the roof when you get here. So, go ahead and take your medicine.
Exactly. Happened today. I was like, what does it usually run? I was like, well, I don't know. I just did that. And so, right, because we need to know how it's going. And we need to know if we're going to adjust your medication, how to adjust it. But if we're not taking it regularly, it's going to be inaccurate. And then it can actually become dangerous. Maybe we think you're taking your medication for your blood pressure. It's still high, so we double it. Then you start taking it and you're bottoming out. So definitely just let us know. It's not a problem, but we do recommend, let's just start taking our medication.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Melissa. And we will wrap up with this one because this is the one that we probably hear the most. I don't eat anything.
Yeah.
But
nothing at all.
Nothing. Well, so right. I don't eat anything. I keep gaining weight. I don't eat anything. I don't know when my sugars are high, right? First of all, that's not usually possible, but and we'll prove it to you because the Ozempic craze, right? Everybody's getting their Ozempic. A bunch of people are losing weight. So that tells us that you were eating something because now you have a medicine that makes you not eat something and you're losing weight. And so how do we... We're not calling anybody liars. We're not but sometimes it's actually not misperception, but what we think of nothing is different than what the patient thinks is nothing.
Right. Yeah. And yes. And sometimes it is just being honest with yourself first. Right. You don't have to, give us even like a food log or, whatever. But, when you really look at it and kind of analyze what you truly are eating, maybe it's the, after dinner snack that now that you're on Ozempic, you don't crave that late night snack anymore. And so you've skipped it and now you're losing weight. So really kind of looking at each picture. So if say you're not on anything for weight loss, but you would like to lose some weight, kind of see, if you were put on something, what would it make you not crave?
That's a good way to
kind
look
of think of it like that. If you're having certain cravings or things like that, chances are you're probably giving in to those cravings somewhere.
Yeah.
And all the medicine does is kind of help to slow those down or dull those. And so it's a lot easier to skip them. And so some people will say, well, I have to try then.
We do.
We've had... Yeah.
Yes.
But, and that's okay. Sometimes you do have to try. I have to try every single morning when I get up to work out at 4:30. You know, like there's certain things
Correct.
that you have to try. You know, prepping your meals, skipping the extra snack, different things like that. Being honest with yourself first. And yeah, is that a priority? Is that something that you're willing to work on right now? You know, if you've got tons of other life stressors, maybe that isn't your priority right now. Maybe, you know, it's not at the top of your list. But when that does become a priority, you'll find ways that you can modify.
Correct. Yeah, no, I don't think you can say it any better because, first step is just kind of be honest with where you are. And actually, Tamika, our health coach, what she had told me is every once in a while, she'll ask patients, like, it's okay because they're like, I don't know what I'm eating. I don't know what I'm eating. It's like, just take some pictures of the foods that you're eating. So, right. So they'll actually snap photos because they'll say, I'm using the plate method. Except when they took the picture of the photo, the plate is like the double jumbo, like, plate and not like the normal plate. And just switching them to a salad plate, all of a sudden they start losing weight. The concept with Weight Watchers is essentially that, right? I'm going to help you count points so that you don't eat as much. And a lot of patients, when they do Weight Watchers, one of the first things they tell me is they are losing weight, they feel better, but they did not realize how much food they were actually eating. Like I thought it was just a serving of, you know, corn, except it was like 3 servings of corn, you know? And so sometimes, and we can help with that. If you took photos of everything that you eat or you logged everything that you eat, we can help you visualize, okay, this is maybe where we're struggling with and how to improve that. And you're exactly right. The second thing is the snacking. Snacking is so easy to do. Often it's mindless snacking. Often it's, like I had a patient told me one time, a whole box of Cheez-Its at bedtime. The whole box, you know? And at first we're like, wait, like the 100-calorie packet? The whole box.
The whole box. Yeah.
And since he switched over to the smaller packet, it's the weight's gone down, you know? Yeah. Sometimes it's liquid sugar. So it's like, oh, I don't eat anything, but I do drink, you know, the Starbucks double macchiato. I don't know if that's a thing. I just made that up. But you're right. A lot
sweet
of
tea all
sweet
day,
tea all day,
Kool-Aid all day. We've heard that.
Yes.
And then, of course, a lot of alcohol, too.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people follow a pretty healthy diet, but then they, you know, drink at the end of the day, and that's a lot of extra calories.
Yep. I had actually a guy come in yesterday. He's like, hey, my cholesterol, there's nothing. I'm not doing anything. I can't do anything. And I was like, beer? He's like, that's it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, yeah. And sometimes it's helpful just to talk it out. You know, maybe mentally we feel like we have tried everything. We're not eating anything. Why is it not moving? Once we talk it through, you know, that's helpful. Sometimes maybe, and I'll say a patient who put this on our Facebook page, like one of the biggest things that make them maybe quit, you know, they don't eat it. They'll feel like they don't eat anything, but they're also not seeing the results when they try to cut back. But when they came in for their blood work, metabolically, they've improved a lot. And so sometimes, right, the expectation might not be like, I need to get my waist size to X in X amount of time. It might just be like, what my metabolic, you know, life is doing as I'm doing these changes.
Right. Yeah. You know, if your blood sugar is running high or cholesterol is running high, making some changes in your diet, you know, regardless of weight loss, you know, can definitely make a difference in those numbers and in a pretty short amount of time. You know, a lot of times we can, you know, see blood sugar change by your next meal, you know, if you just change what you eat or what you drink. But having that feedback can sometimes be helpful. You know, that would be a case where, you know, having your regular checkups to see what those lab numbers are doing, even if you don't see the scale moving much.
Yeah. And we've actually put that for patients like, hey, you know, if you've been doing something for 4 weeks, come let us check your cholesterol. Let's see where it's going. And oftentimes, because usually 4 weeks is kind of like that max where people are like, I'm about to quit. If I'm not seeing inches come down or something like that, and we'll check it and their numbers will be significantly better. And as they continue to work on it, I think we talked about this last time, the idea that you're going to lose 30 pounds and keep it off in 3 months is not accurate.
Right.
The mindset needs to be, it's going to take about 2 years, at least.
Yeah.
You know?
And don't set a deadline, you know, just make the healthy habit changes and, you know, just start incorporating things into your day-to-day routine. And eventually that follows.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Melissa, we touched our points.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we hit them all.
Yeah. Well, any closing thoughts that you have?
I think we covered it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, next week, I don't really know what we want to talk about next week. You know, we might talk about, because I put a poll on our Facebook page. So if you're our Common Sense Medicine Facebook follower, there's a poll there asking people, if you were going to start something new, what made it happen? And from that poll, it actually brought up, what was your biggest hurdle to keep things going versus stopping? And they actually had some really good comments. So maybe we bring that up and we talk about that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, so starting something new and then hurdles to
keep going.
That's
yeah.
right. All right, thanks, Melissa.
All right, thanks.